Jay here, Stretford, Paddock. This is it. This is the big one. Manchester United versus Chelsea. Champions League football on the horizon. Joining me, as always, is Mr. Joe Smith. Joe, as the kids often say, when we're on a journey, are we there yet? Do you feel like we're... Can you touch the Champions League goodness?
You can see the car park.
Yeah.
Do you know when you can see when the tyres are about to hit that gravel as you get to the caravan park? Do you know what I mean? We're that close. You can see it. We've got the indicator on. We're turning left, but there's still cars coming in the direction that we have to wait for before we can get on holiday. Do you know what I mean? That's where we're up to.
Good. I like it. We're going to talk a little bit about sealing top four in a minute. Yeah. First of all, though, I want to talk about man like Casemiro. Yeah. Who...
Talk to me.
He's had a very good season for Manchester United. It's not been without its flaws. There's been the suspensions, obviously. When he came back, he didn't look quite himself. However, I felt like at the Vitality Stadium, with his goal and his performance, it did look like Casemiro sort of back to his best, didn't it?
Yeah, well, goal aside, I thought he was excellent.
Yeah.
And doing more of the sort of just being more present. I think sometimes in the games where he's not looked quite at his best since that last suspension, the game sort of passed him by a little bit more, and he still does his thing, and he still gets, tackles in and the odd sort of tactical foul and all that stuff. But I think he looked like he was the one winning the ball higher up. He was pushing forward, and I don't really need to see him scoring goals to know how good he is. But just getting that goal and the sort of physical dexterity he had to put it in was a good sort of cap on what was a sort of back to himself performance, which is obviously what we need between now and the end of the season with the cup final coming up. And before we get to the cup final, sort of securing top four and maybe top three. With Newcastle dropping points, it's in our hands to finish third now as well. So there's a lot on the line, and him getting back to his best is not just like, a good sign, but it's genuinely crucial. If we want to beat City, I don't see how we can do it without not just a fit Casemiro, but an informed Casemiro. Yeah,
and he's got that in his locker, and he could be the difference in that game. He could control that midfield. If he's at his best, he is one of the best players on the planet.
Not only is he a player that's used to winning, I know Pep is used to winning, so you've got to overcome that, but he's a man that's used to winning finals. He's also a man that's used to winning finals when they're not necessarily the best team. Yeah. Like, I don't think, in terms of form that season, I think there could be an argument that when Real Madrid beat Liverpool the second time, that they probably weren't the best team that year. I think Liverpool were probably a better team. Like last season when Real Madrid beat Man City, they weren't the best team that season. I think that he's got such a winning mentality that eventually you just get across the line, and I think that is absolutely crucial in this team when we've seen it in the past, in recent weeks really, where not just have we not quite got that final, top elite level mentality across the squad, which we still don't, but we're still at times capable of completely collapsing. And I think we're so much less likely to do that with Casemiro in there from the start than we are with him not playing. So yeah, he's absolutely crucial for on the pitch, off the pitch, mentality, tactics, tackling, passing, like everything. He's so important.
He is so important. Get involved in the comments as well and let us know what you think about Casemiro, and don't forget to give the video a like. Now, in terms of the top four, are you wary that we might already be sort of thinking about the FA Cup final, thinking top four's done, it's only Chelsea who we're going to get to in a minute, we're there, or do you feel like this side, against a pretty poor Chelsea side, with the players we've got, including Casemiro, we can start booking our flights to Europe?
Other than City and Liverpool, because that's got the added emotional sort of pain of it's your biggest rivals. Chelsea is the team that I feel the least confident playing at any time in the Premier League.
Really? Why?
I know last couple of years we've struggled against Arsenal, but I think up until recently we dropped more points to Chelsea than anyone. I think consistently, even when Sir Alex was there, I never felt like we were going to win against Chelsea. I thought this is going to be a battle, this is going to be a slog, and since 2005, they've been really difficult to beat. But I don't know, it's so hard for me to think of big wins against Chelsea. I know we've done it. There was the one when their manager had been sacked, was it 3-0 or 3-1 under Sir Alex? But like we've lost multiple cup games to them.
I saw us once. I went to Stamford Bridge twice in one season. We got knocked out both cups. Well, I've not been back since.
Yeah, like they're just one of those teams that for whatever reason, I say for whatever reason, it's because they've been consistently good for nearly 20 years, but they're just hard to beat. Yeah. And I think even this, absolutely shoddy, and we'll get onto them in a minute because we need to talk about exactly how shit they've been this season, because they wouldn't let us just go about finishing 11th, so we can't do the same for them. So we have to do the same for them. But even with all that, I still think I'm not overlooking this. And I think the one thing that will hopefully do it for United is we know that the closer you get to achieving something, the more painful it is when you don't. Yeah. So the fact that we are 1 point away from top 4, if we were to now let Liverpool in, it would be a fucking disaster. If Liverpool had been 4th all season and we get within a point of them in the last game of the season but don't quite make it, you can kind of pat yourself on the back for that. But the way this is played out, we have to finish top 4. And the players, you'll see it in the first 10 minutes, because you always can with this team. If we're up for it and we're after them, I think we'll win. But if we're not, it'll be really, really horrible. And, we certainly can't overlook Chelsea.
I get that. We can't overlook Chelsea, but they have been awful this season. Yeah. There's no disputing that. With all that being said, let's get into our predicted 11s. Let's start with yours.
Okay.
Talk us through it.
I think it's only that. Our back 7 are the same, aren't they? Or back 8, sorry, are the same.
Yeah, we can talk through together. You go to mine. There's Joe's. You go to mine.
Rashford on the left. The only change is you've got Rashford up front, Sancho on the left.
I've got Sancho left. So let's start with yours. Go back to Joe's. So talk us through your front 3 then, because basically I feel like that back 8 is kind of self-explanatory.
Yeah.
Wan-Bissaka had a decent game against Bournemouth. He's in a decent bit of form. Yep. Varane is obviously fit again. Lindelof's been doing well. Shaw at left back, we love that. The midfield is the strongest midfield, and we need to get at least a point from this game, so why mess about with that? Why have you gone for that front 3? Why have you got Anthony Martial down that middle? That's my first question, because there has been sort of question marks around him about his future at the club, and also his body language when he came off against Bournemouth.
Because I think he's Martial up on through the middle, Rashford on the left. For me, despite Martial's poor form, is a better combination than Rashford down the middle, which he's good at, but it's not his number one area. And Sancho on the left, who hasn't been any better than Martial.
Okay.
So why push Rashford out of position for the sake of keeping an equally out of form Jadon Sancho, who, I actually didn't think he had a bad game the other day, but I feel like the bar is so low. And I was going to say to you,
when you said he didn't have a bad game, and I agree with you, I don't think he had a bad game. I don't think he was particularly great, though.
No. And I saw
I'm not
some
going to go
tweets
like, wow, that was a performance.
And I don't think they were necessarily wrong saying, looking at some of the stats and his passing and, much improved, one of his better performances this season. And I don't think it was one of his better performances, but it was certainly in the top half. And you look at it and you go, well, what did he do in what is one of his better performances this season? Nothing. Like, we keep sitting here and saying it, and I feel, I know he's been through a lot this season, and I personally think he should be here next season and given another chance, so I'm not trying to rule him out or write him off or anything like that, but we need to start seeing more from him. How much we paid for him, which, again, I don't like holding against players, but the wages are a lot, and also, forget how much we paid his wages. He's taken up a spot for Manchester United. Yeah. And I want to see Manchester United win every trophy they're going for, so I don't think we can do it with the Jadon Sancho in the form he's been in since we signed him. So for me, I would start Rashford and Martial.
I get that. I think the only reason I've gone a little bit differently, the reason I've gone with Rashford down the middle, I don't know what's going on with Martial. I don't know if it was a knock, if it was just Erik ten Hag wasn't happy with his performance, but it was quite an early substitution, was it? 57 minutes against Bournemouth.
Yeah, early for Ten Hag.
For Ten Hag, he's usually 60, 65 minutes, so slightly early there. Yeah. And then the sort of the intrigue of him going down the tunnel wasn't really explained. I know he came back out, but there's speculation that he was unhappy. I don't know if that's the case, but I just don't know. It just feels like Martial's not. I know he scored a couple of goals since he's come back, to be fair to the kid, but I don't know whether all he's right with him, if that makes sense. It just seems to be a little bit off for me. I think Marcus, who at the time of recording this has been back in training, so we expect him to feature. He can play down the middle. He has convinced me that this season, because I used to question that, but I think we've had some good performances from him this season. And I think Sancho, he has been a little bit patchy out, admittedly, but I still feel he can do a job for you on that left-hand side, Anthony on the right. And also, if things aren't going well, you've got the option of Martial and Garnacho on the bench, and that's a strong bench. That's quite a decent option for us.
I do think that Martial is better off of a bench than Sancho is. So
yeah.
To be fair, I like your starting 11 as well.
Yeah.
But for me, I just thought, get Rashford on. Get Rashford on that left-hand side. I don't know who they're playing. It depends, because sometimes it's Azpilicueta on the right, sometimes he's in the middle. So who knows what team they'll play coming to the end of the season? But there's players that Rashford can exploit. So wherever he plays, hopefully he's fit and hopefully he starts.
Absolutely. Get involved in the comments and let us know your predicted 11s. These are the teams we think Erik ten Hag is going to go with. Do you agree or disagree? Let's talk about Chelsea then. Yeah. Because they're having disaster. A stinker, aren't they? Let's have it right. They're sat in, 12th, 43 points with 2 games to go. And the highest they can get to is 11th, which for a club like Chelsea is just ridiculous, especially when they've done nothing in the Cups as well. I mean, Frank Lampard came in, go further back than that. Tuchel went out. It shouldn't have happened, really. I think we can all agree on that. Potter came in, flattered to deceive a little bit. Frank Lampard's taken over and has just been terrible. It's been a disaster for them.
I've seen Man United have seasons that felt to me, as a fan, just that feeling you have of remembering them. Last season, it felt like we lost every game.
Yeah.
That final season under Jose, it felt like we lost every game. I know obviously we didn't, and that's just memory. But I've had seasons that felt as bad as they could be, and the worst we've ever finished is 7th.
Yeah.
How the fuck can a Chelsea side that since 2004 has won more trophies than anyone in England, including United, including City, finish 12th, Jay? That's not just a bad season. That is genuinely one of the worst seasons. That's as bad as Derby getting 11 points.
It is.
Because they were going to be in a relegation scrap no matter what. It was horrendous and way worse than anyone thought. But that was around the area people might have thought they'd finish. No one thought that you've got a manager that's won the Champions League 12 months earlier when this season started. Tuchel had won the Champions League. A new owner that is promised and legally has to spend hundreds of millions over the next few seasons.
Legally, I know you're right.
Yeah, gigantic investment with a proven manager at a team that does not fail, and you are finishing in the bottom half with them. That is genuinely a disgrace.
It is a disgrace, and for me, it's simple enough. He shouldn't have got rid of Thomas Tuchel. Of
course.
He shouldn't have undermined him. He shouldn't have argued with him or whatever happened with Todd Bill and them two fell out, and he shouldn't have sacked him. I think he had this idea, I'll bring in Graham Potter and just throw loads of footballers at him and everything will be rosy. And it's been a complete shambles. Yeah. And a lot of these players they've bought just don't look up to it.
And can I just quote something else? Because obviously, we like the odd stat.
Yeah, please do.
Chelsea this season, I know they've been known for not scoring many goals. But this year, they've got Havertz on 9 goals, 1 assist, which is...
Is this in all comps?
This is all competitions.
Okay.
It's less in the Premier League, obviously. All competitions. Havertz 9 goals, 1 assist, which is poor. Sterling, their top creator, 9 goals, 4 assists. Right. Their next highest, so it goes 9, 9, 3. Jay, Mount, Aubameyang, Gallagher, João Felix, who's been here for 2 weeks, Jorginho, who's been here for 2 weeks, who doesn't even play for them anymore. Like, what is going on?
Aubameyang. How's Aubameyang in that conversation?
So it's either 9 or 3. I can't believe it. I genuinely can't believe how bad they've been this season. I've never seen anything like it.
It's mad. It's like they've all given up, and I hope it continues for at least one more game.
Yeah.
With all that being said, I mean, we could go. You've mentioned the players there. We don't need to go into the Chelsea team.
No.
The one thing I will say is, if they turn up, which they haven't done, but if they turn up, they can be dangerous. We should be aware of that. With all that being said, though, give us your score prediction.
See, the most mental thing is my instinct is to say 1-1.
Okay.
After everything I've just taken.
That is a very sort of United-Chelsea scoreline.
Yeah.
And I'd take it because it gets us Champions League football.
Exactly. I think a 1-1 for us is as good as a win. I know, obviously, you want to finish third ahead of Newcastle, but in the grand scheme of things, that isn't important. What's important is getting a draw tomorrow, or on Thursday, sorry, because that is a guarantee of Champions League football. I think we'll do better than that, though. I don't see them scoring, and I think we will. I'm going to go 2-0 United.
2-0 Manchester United. I'm going to go 3-1 United.
Go on.
Get your phones out. Film yourselves in landscape. Yeah. Giving us your score prediction, about 30 seconds, and send it to paddockmatchday@gmail.com, and we'll make you part of the pre-match show. Mm-hmm. Joe, where can people find you?
Sloppy Joe's podcast on Instagram and on Twitter and on YouTube.
Very funny podcast. Make sure you check that out. You know where to find me as well, Jay Motti. That's been Joe Smith. I've been Jay. This has been the preview with Manchester United. 1 point, just 1 point away from Champions League football. Thanks for watching.